homeless because of this. I was humiliated because of this, embarrassed because of this. I've been arrested because of this. How I end up being arrested, all the stuff that I've done that I ain't finna talk about on wax, how I end up going to jail for the same thing that my dad went to jail for. The same day I went to jail for it, I had just told somebody I'm the only male in my family that ain't been to jail. So I'm in the parking lot, I'm ready to commit suicide. You know, you hate when you in a spot and you trying to duck off and then somebody come park right beside you. But this person, they pull right in front of me with their headlights on. Man, I don't want nobody to see me do what I'm finna do. And I'm trying to do it while I got the courage to do it. Right. This car leave, another car pull up. All right, let me get it in. Boom, I ain't got the courage. All right, let me smoke this blunt a little bit more. Let me get, you know what I'm saying? Let me do whatever I need to do, get this courage up so I can get out of here. You understand what I'm saying? Because I don't want to live like this.
What's up, man? It's your boy Chris Crump.
Chizzy.
And it's the Boy Man King podcast where the journey continues.
Yes, sir. I'm feeling good, man. It's good to see you, man. It's nice.
Always.
We getting this in, man.
Man, I'm excited, man.
Yes,
we got
sir.
my brother here, DeMont Pope, man. The brother was giving all the hope to the people, man. Mr. Energy Man, him saying purpose over pointless excuses. Man, you already know what it is, man.
Sir.
Welcome to the fam, bro.
Yeah, thank you, man.
Welcome to Boy Man King, man.
Yeah,
the journey continues, man. Let's talk, man. Let's get this started. Welcome, man. It's good to have you in the building. DeMont Pope is here.
Yeah.
We excited about this interview, man. What's going on, man? Talk to us a little bit about DeMont Pope. The purpose over pointless excuses, man. Talk to me a little bit about growing up in the inner city in Atlanta, man. What was that like for you? What was your experiences? How did that take you from boy to a man, and we'll get to a king, man. Talk to us a little bit, man. How you feel?
Listen, first of all, I'm grateful to be here.
Yes, sir.
Especially with you kings, man, talking about this journey. Man, you did jump right into it. You didn't even give your boy a warning shot. Right in, like coming in hot, right? So listen, man, purpose over pointless excuses for me, man, is purpose. It is what it is. It's drawn from the acronym in my name, my last name, Pope.
Sir.
So POPE, purpose over pointless excuses, because I need to create a constant reminder. Not just for myself, but for my children, right? To replace what I never had, right? I never had that bar set. I never had that standard. So my name has become a brand, which has become a standard for my family to live by. Because growing up in Atlanta, born and raised in Atlanta, the inner city of Atlanta, it was difficult for me, right? Like my father, he was an alcoholic, right? He was abusive. Most of the time, my mom was the victim. But pretty much if you was in the vicinity when he got to a certain level of drunk, if we call it that, you pretty much became a target. And, you know, for me, like I just always wanted that relationship with my dad, man. I'm the youngest of all my siblings. So, you know, I was born with a twin sister. Let's start there. Like I was born with a twin sister. And shortly after we were born, she passed away. So here I am, the baby of the bunch, but I finally get an opportunity to be a big brother because I came out first, like 5 minutes. So I was big bro. And then before you knew it, you know, a couple of months on this earth, my little twin sister became my big twin sister because she led the way out this world. And, you know, me being a kid, not really knowing the impact that would have, because, you know, they say you come in this world alone, you leave alone. But what about those of us who didn't come in this world alone? But then I was forced to, you know, live this life, you know, by myself, try to figure it out. You know, always kind of feeling like somebody's missing. Like, you know, man, and, you know, why do I always feel like I'm missing somebody? And I can only assume, bro, that it was the connection from my sister. But it hurt me deeply, man, with what happened with my father because, you know, being the youngest of my siblings, I wasn't cut from the same cloth as them, or so I thought, you know what I mean? Like my brothers were always, they were tough, they were, you know, aggressive, you know, respected, they could do some stuff that I couldn't do, and, you know, I wasn't cool, man, I couldn't fit in, I really didn't know my place in the world, you know what I mean? So I needed my dad, man, I needed the king that I came from, right, to tell me who I am. I needed him to give me some affirmation. I wanted to know that he loved me, right? But what it was, man, when he went through the situations with my mom, you know, I'm not saying it's our fault as the kids, but when he dealt with the situation with my mom, it's like when they parted ways, and it was forceful, you know what I mean? They parted ways because my man ended up getting arrested, you know, for the domestic violence, you know what I mean, and all the scrapping. It's like my mom got tired of it, bro. Me and my brother came home one day. My mom was sitting on the porch, and I talk about this in a book that I got coming out. my mom was just sitting on the porch where her clothes was kind of torn, little blood and stuff like that, and her countenance on her face was just different. So, man, bro, we knew something, right? We knew something was different. And shortly after, the police showed up. And, my father again, he an old Army veteran, Vietnam veteran, right? So he want all the smoke, So whoever want the drama, he about the drama, especially when he intoxicated, right?
Yeah.
So he going toe-to-toe with these police officers, bro. And it's like 3-4 cars. They like 2 deep. So we talking about 6, maybe 8 cops. And they going at it. They beat my man down. They beat him, and I'm watching this.
How old were you? How old were you?
I'm like 7, bro, maybe 8.
Okay.
7, maybe 8 years old, and I'm watching the most powerful man I know, right? The Superman, right? The same dude get on the floor, crawl around, wrestling with me, growling and all that. He's getting beat down. You know what I'm saying? They drug him down the hill, man. Threw my man in the backseat of the police car. Boom, slammed the door, and then they just drove off. Yeah. They didn't say nothing to us. They didn't tell us when he was coming back, bro. And like I said, I was about 7 or 8. I ain't seen my man since then.
Really?
I haven't seen him since. If I saw my dad today, honestly, without the time that passed by, I probably wouldn't recognize him.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying?
Okay.
So let's pause right there. I mean,
yeah, that was a lot.
That's heavy.
My bad. I ain't mean to throw that on y'all like that.
Nah.
Yeah, I'm hearing Vietnam War.
Yeah.
So I'm hearing that there's trauma there. You know what I
yeah.
mean? And it triggers a level of aggression and as a man now. Let's deal with a couple parts of that. Because, obviously that's affected you in multiple ways.
Yeah.
Right? Now that you look back as a man, understand your father was in the war, understand that he probably was drinking alcohol to kind of get away from what his mind was processing from the war and being in an environment where literally you're fighting and killing to survive. And that, we hear so much now. We didn't have it back in the day,
right?
But so much now about the post-traumatic stress disorder of just war and being a soldier and what that did to you, and not really having a transition for soldiers when they came back to civilization or civil life or domestic duties. You know what I mean? That they never really kind of got back their footing. Now that you reflect, does that ever come into your mind, or is it more just the pain of what he was doing to your mother and not having him in your life? Like, what are you processing as a man now about your father?
Man, you hit me in the chest with that. Because as a man, being a father, I have to reflect on it more often than not.
Because your own kids.
My own kids, for the sake of them.
Sure.
And you're right. You highlighted some very important points that as a kid, you're not looking at that. The people that's hearing about the drama that's going on in the family, they not hearing about that. They not trying to find out the cause of the problem. You sound like you wanted to identify the root cause in this situation. And it was definitely trauma. You in a situation, you fighting for your life, and then we don't even know how his parents treated him growing up. And from the stories that I've been told, it was traumatic. So he was raised in trauma, right? Went to war, right? Yeah. Came back with post-traumatic stress, and then, created trauma in the household. So as a man now, I see it, but it still don't take away the hurt. It still don't heal the pain. I can understand all day long. Son, I understand. I was going through this. Dad, I understand. But I don't understand why you wasn't there. I don't understand why I wasn't important enough for you to fight for. I don't understand that part. So I understand all of the trauma, but as a kid, right, my mindset was like, I don't understand that. Right. And as a man, I understand the reasons, but I don't understand the method. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about as a kid, 7, 8 years old, seeing your dad get into that police car and not seeing him again. What was that like? In elementary school, in middle school, what were you feeling? What choices did you make to bring you to where you are now, where you are right now, and how you even parent your own kids? Because I would imagine as a youngster at 7 or 8 years old, that pain is real.
Yeah, it's real, man.
That God that you knew was there in spite of the challenges that you had in your household is not there any longer. Yeah. And we know how that plays out with young men and decisions they make as it relates to gangs and drugs and violence.
That's it.
Talk a little bit about your experience growing up in the inner city from 7 to, let's say, teenage years, so we can get now to that boy transitioning to a young man to further along as a man getting to a king. So we're going to start in that boy phase. Right. What was it like for you at that time?
It was traumatic for me.
Yeah.
That was the deepest hurt I've ever felt. aside from losing my sister. And I really couldn't really feel, I didn't know I was grieving or feeling the hurt from that because I was too young to understand.
Sure, of course.
So the separation from my father, or the rejection or abandonment, whatever you want to call it, because he didn't come back, I struggled because it's like, what is it about me? Like, why you don't want me no more? Like, you ever saw the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air episode, and my man was talking to Uncle Phil, and he was like, yo, why he don't want me no more? That's how I felt. And because of that, you know what I mean, I had an identity crisis. I didn't know who I was or what I was supposed to be doing. So growing up, dealing with elementary school, right? First of all, we broke, we poor. Like my mom, we on government assistance now, Section 8, you know what I'm saying? Food stamps, welfare, all of that type stuff.
Right.
So, I went to 6 different elementary schools, bro.
Wow.
Okay.
6 different elementary schools, right? And that means every year I was a new kid in a new neighborhood, right? So I was insecure because I didn't have no sense of identity, right? I knew that I wasn't as tough as my brother or my older siblings were, right? So I'm trying to find my place. I'm trying to fit in. So I'm trying to be like everybody, and I realize that I'm becoming nobody. Trying to please people, and these people don't even care about me.
Right.
So growing up through that transition in elementary school, then we still moving around in middle school, right? So I went to 2 different middle schools. So now count them up. We had 8 schools, and I'm only in 7th grade.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? 7th grade, 8 schools. So, and peers, kids is rough, right? So, I'm from Atlanta, so I went to school in the city of Atlanta. You understand what I'm saying? I went to school from the east side of Atlanta, moved down to College Park, College Park, East Point area, and then we ended up moving to the west side of Atlanta, you know what I mean? Living off of Bankhead. You know what I mean? Now they may know it as Donnelly Hollowell, but, it was ugly, man. It was gruesome. It was violence everywhere, gangs, and since we speaking about gangs, I did the unthinkable. Why? Because, it's neighborhood fights when I grow up, where I grew up at. You get out of school, you got the kids that live on this side of the street in these projects, not realizing if you look at it from an aerial type of view, we're all in the same area. But everybody's representing their neighborhood, and they're representing what they stand for. And we beating each other up, we fighting each other, we picking on each other. So I was the victim of some of that bullying. And I'm like, one day, look, man, I'm tired of getting beat up. I'm tired of being bullied. You know what I'm saying? Me and my brother, we was like, look, man, we got to do something. And of course, you know about local gangs and everything like that. So we did the unthinkable for somebody like me specifically. You know what I mean? What I'm doing trying to join the gang. But it is what it is. It happened. I became a gang member. Really wasn't good at it, but I made that bad choice. You see what I'm saying?
First, for that Bel Air reference, for all of y'all below 30, man, just go ahead and do your Google and YouTube ministry and get yourself familiar with the Fresh Prince of Bel Air by Will Smith. And go ahead.
You talking about the old one or the new one?
Yeah.
No.
Definitely not the new one.
Okay.
Definitely talking about the old one. Sure, and then let's talk about not being a good gang member. You know what I'm saying?
Don't do that to me, man.
Let's
how you not be good as a gang member?
So let's go back. You got the 8 schools, the 7th grade, and you getting beat up on Monday, then you getting beat up on Tuesday, and then when you got beat up on Wednesday, you're like, yo.
This is it. I need to do something different.
I've had an epiphany. I am tired of being beat up. So the situation I created in my mind is I'm going to join a gang, but you dodo on the gang ministry, man. So talk to us about, your dodo moments, man.
So this is what it like. Like, all right, I'm going to be real. I'm going to be transparent. Since y'all going to do this to me, we're going to give the people the truth. Because we want to help somebody, right?
Sure.
From boys to kings, that's what we're taking them from.
It's boys going out there going through that exact same thing right now. They need to hear this, man. Let's get it.
Right. So I'm gonna take you back. 5th grade. Right.
5th grade.
New kid.
Boyd
Elementary School. William M. Boyd off Johnson Road, West Side. Y'all know what that's at, right?
Yeah.
All right. So 5th grade, I get into a fight. One kid, right? I'm taller than the kid, so I'm like, okay, I got a nice shot. Dude, when I say I felt like I got beat up or jumped on by the entire class, it's like they didn't spare you, boy. I'm like, what is this? I never knew that type of unity, right? I never knew that type. And I realized something too, like, I can't fight. Like, I'm in here. like, let's be real. Like, you got, like, men ain't gonna say this stuff. Like, they gonna lie and be like, man, I've always been solid. I've always been. Like, nah, that wasn't my story. I can't lie about it. Like, I wasn't nice with them hands, right? And I'm like, okay, so one thing I can't change. I can't do nothing about where we live at. So we ain't moving. I can't do nothing about the money situation because I'm still young. I ain't even a teenager yet. So I'm like, okay, so these boys is doing this. I'm watching how they be respected. And it's like, man, I want some respect too.
Yeah.
You know, they getting money. I'm like, I want some money too.
Speak on it.
You understand what I'm saying? And then they messed around and told me that I can be down. Cool, let me see what it be like.
You already know.
So I took that step, bro, and I realized that I wasn't good at it because I cared too much about people.
Right.
Something inside my chest, this thing that be beeping and pumping his blood, you know what I mean? That's beating. Yeah. It put something in me that made me different. So I couldn't be heartless. You know, you go out on a mission and do some things that you ain't supposed to be doing to prove your loyalty. And it's like, why am I having a problem doing this to this person? And if I don't do it, they gonna do this to me.
Yeah.
And I went through that.
Yeah.
And then we ended up moving away. So I kind of got moved away from the situation.
Okay.
But I want to speak to something, man, because one of my backgrounds is education. Me and Chizzy actually worked at the same school where it was a school for all boys. And the whole purpose was mentoring them to become men.
Sure.
And we talk about the 4 male archetypes, right? And we had the symbols on our shield that had the sword, that had the candle lit for vision, that had the bricks, right, for brotherhood. And when you talk about that, you know, we know, like, even as a kid, I think, you really know that a gang is bad. Like, there's nobody have to break that down to you. But you didn't, what you felt, what you saw, what you experienced was, you said unity.
Yeah.
They had money.
Brotherhood.
They had love.
They had respect.
Sure.
Everything I didn't have.
And they had brotherhood. And what people don't realize, those are necessities when you're a male.
Of course.
Those are necessities when you're, like, I tell people all the time right now, you cannot find a man that didn't put himself in a brotherhood. A man is either part of his men's fellowship at his church, right? A man is part of the local club, right? The man is part of an adult rec league. The man is a part of some type of male group.
Has to be.
Whether you, and ain't no external force saying, you got to go be a part of a male group because you're a man.
It's just who we are, man.
Natural to a man, he's going to find a way to be part of some type of guy crew.
That's right.
Period. Yep. It's a necessity. So the reality is, gangs is just a group of guys.
That's it.
So at the end of the day, we all a part, even today, of some type of gang. It's just that what are you trying to go out and do in the world? And that's where you made the pivot. That your gang wasn't positive in what it was doing to others. And so now you part of gangs that's being positive and doing unto others. And I think and when it comes to educating people, you can't look at somebody being a part of anything as bad. That is part of the necessity of being a human being. The question is, are you creating options for them to do it in something that's going to be a positive outlet for them? So yeah, man, I just want to pause there because what people don't realize is that every boy needs a gang. It's just the question is, are you conscious as adults in his life to make sure that that gang is positive?
Sure. So we're here at middle school.
We're in middle school.
We gang. We're not really ganging.
We bad at it. We acting like we gang.
Talk a little bit about some of those choices. So talk a little bit about what was something that sticks out in your mind as a middle schooler, as a teenager, that says, man, this is not for me, and how you start to transition into young adulthood, into manhood.
It's like knowing that on the inside, I wasn't really built like that. And when you see a whole group of guys, 10, 15 guys, and they just completely just do this one or two guys bad, it's like there's nothing fair about it. And it's like all of the respect that I had, it started kind of withering away because it's like, man, like I wanted to be a part of something that was going to be, good or something like that. But it's like, we hurting the same people that's in the same situation we're in. Like my man stay right down the street from me. Like, but just because he's different or because he chose to not be affiliated or do something different, it's like, I don't know if that's really me because again, it was something always on the inside of my heart that always convicted me. So, when we went out and we did what we did to this person, I'm not gonna go to specifics in the details.
Yeah, for sure, no.
But when we did what we did, and I saw that, how the other people, it kind of created a monster inside of them where it was like they wanted more of it. But for me, it was like, I don't know if I can just be doing people like this, just because somebody told me to. Like, they ain't really did nothing to me, but I have to follow orders. I got to do what I was told to do, because if I don't, I'm going to be held responsible. So, it wasn't even like I made a conscious choice to step away from it. I'm not even finna sit here and lie. Like, I'm just like, okay, I'm finna be out, because I was scared. First of all, you just can't say, hey, look, I'm not gonna do this no more. I'm gonna be gone. Let's be clear. So don't go out here and be a part of something and just think you can just walk away from it. So know what you're doing first. I got saved from that situation temporarily because my family moved away. I come home in the 7th grade, there's a moving truck in the yard, right? We didn't even know. Everything was packed. We moving. Didn't get a chance to say goodbye to nobody. So it's almost like destiny removed me from a situation that would have had me moving further into a path of detriment and destruction. So the choice wasn't mine. It was more of a force than a choice.
Because DeMont would have been very different if that circumstance didn't take place.
Definitely would have been different, bro.
My goodness.
Yeah.
My goodness.
And I think that's the truth for so many of us. I think about my own, I had a juvie record, and one of them was a violent situation, and I was just influenced, bro. Like, I didn't wake up that morning and say, you know what, I'm gonna make sure I do this to this person.
Right. Yeah.
It was, a couple guys in the neighborhood. It's like, yo, I'm gonna do this to my man, and he's my guy, so I'm rolling with him, and I'm just doing it because he say he doing it, and then police knocking on the door. You know what I'm saying? So I definitely relate to that, and I definitely relate to divine intervention, man. I think sometimes, like, God had removed literally people out of my life that if he did not remove them, I would have ended up in some of the scenarios that they end up in. One of them end up in death, and one of them end up in jail multiple times. And so it's like, you see how God is always in things too, because even as a kid, when you look back, man, things could have went so left, you know what I mean? But God intervened in his divine way, so I receive that.
So now you've moved. You moved to a different environment. Where'd your family pick up and move to?
We moved back to the east side.
Okay, moved back to the east side.
East Lake community.
Where was your head at? Like, what you was dealing with back then when you went after that move?
Man, still easily impressionable. Now, mind you, Crump, you said something about God always being there with the divine intervention. Now, let me not forget to mention that through the midst of all of this turmoil, I'm being raised in church. But I'm out here acting like, you know what I'm saying?
That's what pricked your conscience, and
that's what was in my heart. But we got kids that's being a part of these things, and they're not willing to say, hey, I'm really growing up in church, and I'm really learning better, but I'm not doing it because we don't want people to know that part of us.
Now, hold on, I want to put a pin there. You in the youth speaking space, you in the schools. What is the culture today? 2022. What is the culture today when it comes to kids in church? In your experience,
it's difficult. It's difficult. Kids don't really necessarily want to hear about church. And it's because it's been forced and it's been preached one way. But let's be clear: like, kids are smart. Kids are wise. Like, these kids that are in high school right now, these were little bitty 6 and 7 year old kids about 10 years ago. So, the parents that they have that's in church and they're everything righteous, and then they go home and they're doing what normal people do, they don't know how to separate the two. They don't know that the preacher man is still a human man. They don't know that the preacher woman is still a human woman. So what it is, it's the conflict when they see these people that they hold to so high esteem, or they've been told that this person is up here. When they see that they have some of the same faults, some of the same flaws, make some of the mistakes like them, they find out they're human. It does something to their belief, because I guess they look at them like maybe a superhero, or a person that can't do wrong, or a person that doesn't go through divorce, or a person that don't struggle with a substance abuse or a pornography addiction or something like that. Let's be real about it, because these are the things that boys struggle with. So today, it's hard to connect with these young people, specifically school-age young people. It's because it seems as though they've been lied to so much, or they've been fed some type of persona instead of getting the real deal. So kids is like, I heard a rap song one day. He was like, wisdom from a square, we don't respect it. And I thought about that for a minute. Wisdom from a square, we don't respect it. So basically, if you can't relate to these kids, if you can't relate to these students, and this is for educators, if you're in the educational field, if you're a speaker, the first thing we have to do is connect to the heart of these people.
Yeah.
We got to connect to them. So dealing with youth in the schools and dealing with youth in ministry, I figured out that although the two are separate, but you have to figure out a way to marry the two, intertwine the two.
For sure.
You got to meet them where they at, Crump, and then you have to show them kids, show these kids that you are or have been where they are, and this is how you maneuver through it. Like, don't avoid it because you can't. You can't avoid. I don't care how many times you read that book, you're gonna slip up. You're gonna make some mistakes. So it's being transparent and authentic with them. That's what they need.
Yeah. And you're a PK.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like book another part I'm getting to is he's a PK, you know, a pastor's kid, preacher's kid. I was made to go to church, and you sound like you was made to go to church and Sunday school.
Yeah, I'm in there all night.
And choir rehearsal.
Every day.
You know what I'm saying?
Group Friday nights, all of that.
And I could be wrong. I'm not going to act like I'm right on this, but my overall social observation is the parents, we're parents of these kids that it's not forced. Yeah. That your kid every single week was going to be in a church 1, 2, 3 times a week.
Nah. Even with my own son, I have a son 19. He's in school in Georgia. I have the same conversations that you're having. Like, you got to be relatable. Yeah. I can't come to him and say, look, man, I need you to go to church every day. I need you to come to Sunday school on Sundays, youth group on Fridays. I said, you have to find your niche. You have to find your relationship. Because to me, spirituality and God is about relationship.
That's it.
It has nothing to do with the building. We talk about it a little bit on the line all the time.
Yeah.
My relationship, my church is the prayer line. Yeah. That's how I find my church. And daily I get fed. So when I talk to my son, I have to say, I can't make you go to church, but you have to find an association of man, godly man that you find that can relate to you, that you can get spiritually fed by. And that's how I get spiritually fed. Mm-hmm. So to those young people out there today, what do you say to those young people today?
What I would say to them is exactly what you said. I'm going to piggyback on that and affirm that. Like, you have to find your identity. You have to establish your relationship, because like you said, Crump, it's not forced, but that's the problem with the kids today. It's because so many of us in our generation, we were forced to go, and these kids see how things worked out for us, and they like, man, I'm not finna do what you did, because look how it worked out for you. For sure. So for me, it's the same thing. It's like I let my kids know, hey, this is the path I'm on. These are the mistakes I made because of these decisions, right? I just had a conversation with 3 of my children last night. Like, look, I'm still paying for decisions that I made 10 years ago. I'm still struggling with those consequences every day. So I told my oldest son, who's 13, I said, son, if you sitting here thinking that you're not going to have to answer for the things that you do at 13 when you turn 23, son, you sadly mistaken. For sure. Because if you sit here right now as though an 8th grader, knowing you're about to become a 9th grader next school year, right? If you sit here and keep thinking that you got time to figure out what you want to do when you graduate, you're going to be sitting here at 23 years old, filling out job applications, begging somebody to give you an opportunity when I'm trying to go through the struggle right now to build so that you can have an advantage, right? So I would tell them that find your relationship, not religion. Relationship. Like, I used to be that person. Every time I get in front of a microphone, I want to tell everybody everything I done learned about the Bible. I want to tell everybody everything that I've prayed about, everything that I think God has spoken to me or that I've heard in that little voice. Yeah. But then I realized, like, it's sacred. It's an intimate relationship. Of course. Like, I'm not finna come over here and tell y'all about the details that me and my wife do when we go behind the closed doors in our room. So I would tell these kids today in 2022, listen, you need to develop a relationship. All these kids want to be dating. They all trying to game each other, doing what they doing. But you have to get to know that person. When you dating that person, you on the phone, you texting, y'all falling asleep on the phone. You on FaceTime now. We didn't have FaceTime back then. We were just on the phone falling asleep. For sure. They falling asleep on FaceTime, but they're building a relationship. That's how you got those feelings, the little butterfly feelings, is because you got to know that person. You can't get to know a relationship with your creator if you don't spend time with him. So when you talked about the prayer line, same thing for me. That's my service, because I ain't gonna lie, I've been hurt by the churches. It's been so much going on, but it's like, okay, I'm not gonna abandon what I know to be, because I wouldn't be if it wasn't for something greater than me.
Yes, sir.
So I'm like, okay, when I jump on the prayer line, and then for a time, I even had to fall back from the prayer line. It's like, okay, let me examine myself. Am I on this line because someone told me to be on it? Is it obligation now? Or am I on this line because it's a part of my lifestyle?
Yeah.
So I had to examine myself, because it's like we do so many things because somebody told us to do, right? But then I jumped on I was just on the line yesterday, and when BK was like, DeMont Pope, what's up? It was like, yeah, I'm back. Because I get up in the morning, and when something is on the inside of me telling me to do something and I want to do it, that's when I know, okay, I'm doing this for the right reason. I'm not on this just because I grew up in the church. So work on that relationship between you and your creator. Forget what we talking about. You need to figure it out what works for you.
For sure. For sure. Hey, heavy.
Man.
But listen, it's important that we have it, man. And you mentioned a couple things that I want to pull out now. As you you are a man, you're a successful speaker. You got your own podcast. Shout out, tell us a little bit about your podcast, man. Shout your podcast out, man.
Yeah, man. I appreciate it. That's why it's an honor to be on here with these kings, man, because I host a podcast called King Speaks. And that's what we do. We dealing with kingdom mindsets. We taking boys, right, turning them into kings, and I'm basically exposing what we doing right now. I talked about all the foolish stuff I done.
Right.
I'm partnering with people that are successful, and we all talking about the mistakes we made. We talking about the successes, and it's all in an effort to help young people identify their purpose and walk into their true identity and be their authentic selves. That's what my podcast is about.
Awesome, man. Awesome. So you mentioned your son, but I know you got a whole little Brady bunch. You know what I'm saying?
We got five. Five beautiful kings and queens.
Love them too.
So tell us about your experiences and lessons you learned as a father.
Man, the hardest job I've ever had, and I've had a lot of jobs. Like, you know what I'm saying?
So he's not American, right? But you're American.
Yeah.
Did you work at McDonald's?
Definitely worked at McDonald's. You gotta start at McDonald's.
Start mopping the toilets, bro. You know what I'm saying?
I worked at two of them boys.
And just like coming to America, you gotta work your way to the burger machine. When you get to the burger machine, bow, 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 press it down.
Next week you be on fries.
All right, so what's the Bermudian equivalent to McDonald's? 4-star pizza?
4-star, marketplace, packing groceries.
So I did that. So
groceries.
Back in Bermuda, we packed groceries. That was a rite of passage.
All right.
So when you pack groceries, you officially, so that would be the equivalent to the McDonald's.
And here's the crazy thing, bro. Side note. You know in Bermuda, bro, there's kids that are 10, 11, and 12 make like $300 a week packing groceries.
Packing groceries.
Wow.
Strictly tips.
Yup.
And every time I see, I'm like, yo, I really feel like talking to management at like Kroger and put like, listen to me, man, just have middle school kids come in here, let them know it's volunteer based, but the stuff that you would teach them, because like we human. When you see a little kid saying, hey sir, how you doing? How's your day? And they 11 years old, they packing your groceries, they making sure your eggs is a certain bed, your meats is in another, because like. When I look at because you learn how to pack too, because it's 2 paper bags, and you know how to put that stuff in there so people only have 2 bags, right?
Yep.
Man, when I go to Publix, I said, I see them throwing that plastic bag. I said, they ain't got the juice like in Bermuda. But I was like, but what that did was it showed Bermuda has a heavy culture of people and customer service, and so you learn that from packing groceries. It's kind of your initiation. Well, we going straight into capitalism as a kid and just being an employee.
Right.
Where they go more into service people. You know what I mean? And so that's what the island is known for. You don't love the island because it has so many resorts. You love the island for the nature and the people. You know what I'm saying?
Smile and greet you, say hello, say good morning. It's funny to me coming into America. And when you walk into a space, I'm used to saying good morning, good day, hello, how are you? And in the South, you kind of do that too. Right. But in certain parts up north, I went to school in Jersey. People look at you like you crazy.
Yeah, they ain't speaking.
Nah, bro. I said this is the communication and colloquialism of the 90s in the urban community. All right here. Watch this.
Yeah.
That's it.
Universal sign.
That's it,
Look. So before he even said it, I was like,
we always on it. We always on it. I don't know if they caught it.
You know what I'm saying? When you growing up in the 80s and the 90s, this was our form of communication. Before the iPhone. This was before Samsung.
Yeah.
This was like, that was your text message right there.
Whole statement.
You know what I'm saying? That means we
That's social media.
Gucci. That means you okay. That means this is a safe place.
Yep.
That means you know what I'm saying? I see you.
It's
That
all
means
good.
you can walk past. That means I'm not going to mess with you.
Respect.
That was all said in. You know what I'm saying? That was all said in there, bro.
Quick. Hey, look, I got to say something, man, because you talked about the package and the groceries, and you asked me about the McDonald's. So my first official legal job was Kroger. See how I put that?
I'm not going to.
Yeah, I put that. And we gonna keep moving before you. We gonna keep moving before you get a chance to dig into that.
Okay.
So the first official legal job was Kroger, right? Yeah. And then I ended up in McDonald's, all while in high school. But before I was in high school, when we talking about the elementary me, the middle school me, the little kid me, right? My brother and I would go out hustling, right? We would go out washing cars with our little bucket. We would go through the project apartments, knocking on people's doors. Hey, can we take the trash out, right? We would go to the Wayfield. It's still by my high school. Is it still Wayfield? I'm not sure, but there was a Wayfield by my high school. I went to Crim High School, same school Inky Johnson went to, right? Okay. And me and my brother used to go there after we finished at the car wash across the street. We would go to the Wayfield, right? Bag the groceries for these people. That's before it was a career, before it was a for real job. We standing up there bagging groceries, right? And then carrying them to the cars for the ladies, carrying them to the cars for the older people for tips. So you can imagine how I felt when I got hired at Kroger to do the same thing I was doing as a kid, and they only was paying me like $5.15. And I'm like, the ladies would give me more than that for a tip. Like,
for sure.
And it's like, man, I literally started something, had no idea that it would go on to become a legitimate job. So it's crazy. I had to mention that, because you touched on that.
And I think it's an important note to make with kids to understand how important it is what you're starting. Even as a kid.
That's key.
You know what I mean? Like, my son, he's a hooper. Chizzy's a hooper. I'm a hooper. You hooper?
Nah, man, I ain't hooping.
So you ain't got no right hook and you ain't got no right hand judgment.
I'm like, God, why you do me this? It's like, I had to use my voice. I'm like, okay, that's why you gave me a strong voice.
You got that voice.
Like, I can't.
Hey, listen, because you got that DMX grind. I thought you was
I'm like, God, you ain't give me no skills. Like, I played football on the same team with Inky Johnson in high school, but my uniform was always clean at the end of the game. Now, before the game, I'm in the circle getting them hype now. I can get you hype, but I don't know if I can get you 7 points.
That's why you do what you do now. You got motivation.
Hey, listen, so when you was playing football, when you was the dude on the sideline, did you fall on the grass to make sure that you had some type of...
Man, stop it, man.
True story. I'm going to tell you, I got in the game one time, right? Like, my first time getting in the game. I was so excited, man. He was like, Pope, get in there. I run in the game. I ain't even brought my insurance paper. I don't know if they still do that now, but I didn't bring my insurance paper. So he's like, Pope, get in there. Because we was beating them like 79-0. We was playing Decatur High School. Like, we whooped them. So he's like, Pope, get in there. Then he was like, wait, you ain't got no insurance. Get out of there. I'm like, oh. So the next week, I came with my insurance, right? And then I got in the game again. It's like, Pope, get in there. So I get in there. You know what I mean? Made my assist on a little tackle or whatever. But I came back to the sideline like I had really put in work. So I'm running up to my man like I need some Gatorade. Like, you know what I'm saying? Because you know what it was about? I wanted to feel like they felt because they were good at it and they was doing this. When they go off the field and make a play, when they come off, they run and get some Gatorade and stuff. I'm running getting Gatorade knowing I didn't even really make the tackle. I just was in there in the body count. You know what I'm saying?
That's that brotherhood, man. That's that brotherhood.
I just wanted to be a part of it.
Yeah, man. That's that brotherhood, man.
Man, my boy Solomon, shout out to Solomon High School, man. He was a jokester, man, but he used to say, hey, yo, warm up, bro. I'm going to act like I trip and fall so I can slide on the grass and get a grass stain on my jersey so it look like I played.
I ain't even mad. I understand.
But we get it, though, man. We get it, man. So, yeah, man. So, back to my original question. Being a father, man, what are some essential lessons and experiences that you had as a father?
Accountability. Accountability, responsibility, and presence. And it's the hardest job I ever had because, like I said, I had a lot of jobs before he went all into this to create this whole. You understand what I'm saying? So this is still by far the hardest job, because this job and being a husband is the most important jobs to me. Because they are my legacy. They represent who I am, who I tell the world I am. They will be able to see in my kids. Like, it's a saying that goes on in the streets, like, don't ask the internet how real a person is, right? Ask his kids. Don't ask the streets, ask the kids, right? So for me, it was hard, because it's like, here I am trying to do something I ain't never seen done. And growing up like that, always trying to find that role model. That's why I'm trying to fit in, always looking, not knowing I'm looking for a mentor. But every time I see a guy and he got his stuff together, I'm like, man, I'm going to be like that guy. Oh, no, wait, I'm going to be like that guy, because I don't know who I'm going to be like. So now I want my kids to understand this is who I am. I didn't know who I was. But that chapter, that generational curse, is broken right here. Because from now on, for the rest of our lineage, you will know who you are, where you came from, and so will your kids, and so on and so forth. So the accountability, the responsibility, man, and just trying to figure out how to, it's okay to make mistakes in parenthood, because we can write books, but ain't nobody no expert.
But I want to talk to that part. Are you, like you said something powerful about that generational curse, about you talk to your children that you're going to, well, this is who you are, this is who your father is. Are you conscious that your father wasn't that for you? And so you are very conscious that you have to be that for them because of what your father wasn't for you?
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head, man. That's exactly what it is. And I have to be careful, too, because sometimes I overcompensate.
Right, yeah.
And it's like I want to be so much for them. And let's be real, like I haven't done the whole family thing right the first time, right? So I've been divorced and all of that. And that was the hardest thing, being separated from my kids, right? And so when I had my youngest daughter, it's like now she's with me every day, so I get an opportunity to do even for her what I wasn't able to do for my older 3 kids, right? And so now here I am again. I tried with my oldest 3 to do everything my father couldn't do, but then I ended up failing at marriage, failing at husband, and then I had to fight like crap, right, to stay in my kids' life. We got men who don't fight for being their kid, to be in their kids' lives after they separate from the mother. Kids to have nothing to do with it. So I try to overcompensate with my youngest daughter and realized that I had slacked way too much on the discipline. So fatherhood to me, I'm learning it's about balance. So I slacked on the discipline, and then when she started turning like 2, and they say the terrible 2s, but I had created something that I'm now having to check that. And then my youngest son, little Demont, I'm like, nope, we're going to nip this in the bud right here, right now. But I tried, and I constantly try, because I always hear that voice in my head of when my father would always tell me, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, and we did none of that. And I still remember to this day. As a matter of fact, listen, man, on the 25th of this month, I'll be 38 years old, right? All these gray in my chin, and I'm only finna be 38 years old, and I remember what it feels like wanting my dad. But I'm a 38-year-old man today, and I still want my dad. I still wish I could pick up the phone and say, hey, Dad, I'm going through this. His wife tripping. What I'm supposed to do? These kids, they tripping. My oldest son, he's a teenager now, and he's expressing different interests. Oh, my daughter, she's 12. Like, what I'm supposed to do with this? But he's not there. So because that is always conscious in my mind, because it's always present, I guess you can call that my why. I guess you can call that my reason why I fight like crap. I don't care who I got to go through, how long the distance. I don't care how the embarrassment, the shame. I'm going to be here for my kids.
For sure. Yeah, it's definitely not. I know what it's like to be separated from my kids. I was married to their mom for a number of years, together 20 plus years. We divorced. I moved back to Bermuda. So having to be apart from the children and being able to have an impact on their lives, given that I'm not there and I'm not physically there. So much as I'm traveling and I'm talking and I'm calling every day, I'm doing the FaceTime thing, it's a big difference. So you do find yourself, I know I found myself somewhat overcompensating. So trying to maximize every opportunity I have with my son. Sometimes you might give a little bit more stuff than you would normally give. Sometimes you'll be less aggressive in terms of your discipline with your children, because you don't quite know how they view you, because you internalize a lot of where you fell short with their moms, that they may be looking at me some type of way because you left your mom, and although you know that you're putting in your every effort to be there for your kids, you find yourself overcompensating. You find yourself not being able to fully say, hey, because, I know how my dad was in terms of discipline with me.
Yeah.
But I can't be as strict as he was because I don't want to lose that relationship that I may have felt that I lost just through that separation. So I definitely understand where you're coming from as it relates to, how to try to continue to have that balance.
Yeah. And I just asked my wife this the other day. I'm like, babe, do you think, because me and my siblings, we talk about like growing up and how my mom was rough and tough, and she's still tough, and she's grown a lot. But I asked my wife the other day, I'm like, babe, do you think that my kids feel like how my sibling, me and my brothers and sisters felt growing up? Because I catch myself all the time sounding like my mom. Yeah. Me and my brother was having a conversation, and I was like, bro, well, we all got it. You got it. My sister got it. And he was like, yeah, bro, but you got it good. I'm like, what you mean? He's like, yeah, you got it good. You just like mama. And I'm like, man, is it the thing that we dislike the most about our parents? How does that thing materialize and become us without us even knowing it? Yeah. So I asked my wife literally just yesterday, I'm like, babe, do you think now, because I noticed the mistake that I made with my youngest daughter, am I too much on the discipline? Have I turned into a drill sergeant something like that? Right. And she was like, no. And she mentioned the mistake I made with my daughter. And she was like, I just see that you recognize that with Deanna, you were overcompensating for the time that you didn't have with the oldest three. Mm-hmm. And she was like, you made their own self-evaluation and recognized the mistake. And now with our youngest son, Little Demont, the mistake is being corrected. So it's okay to make mistakes as long as we acknowledge them and correct them.
One thing we do know, man, there is no playbook for being a parent.
Ain't
no playbook for being a parent. We out here trying to do our best. Yeah. And if someone can sit you down and say, this is what I did, that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to work for me. It's not going to work for you. All of our situations are different. What we do have in common is at the end of the day, we have a relationship with God.
That's it.
And that's what keeps you centered. That's what keeps you focused. That's what keeps your family intact. I pray with my children more than I've ever prayed with them in my entire life. And as a result, my relationship with their mom is a lot better than it's been in 20 plus years.
That's big.
You know what I'm saying?
Huge, bro.
So that's what keeps me going for the prayer line. That's what keeps me going to do this work that we do. Because I know if I can see the transformation and the toxic relationship I have with their mom in a matter of months or years, just in being in relationship in the prayer line and having brothers that can hold me accountable, God is more real than it's ever been in my life. You know what I'm saying? Facts. And that's huge, man.
Man, I wanted to, it's like
it's heavy over here this time.
Yeah, it's like I wanted to go somewhere else, but you bring up a huge point that I don't want us to miss, in that how much men need a sacred place to be a man. Man. You know what I mean? And how much that is the big aha that you get as a man, because you don't even know that as a man. Because for whatever reason, you talk about accepting narratives, whether you accepted the parenting style of your mother, you didn't even know it. I accepted the parenting style of my dad and didn't even know it. My wife and I, we had some frank conversation the past 2 years. But I want to get to what you spoke about. That, because I had the same aha. Like I was drowning in the posturing of a man. I was drowning in like, I have it all together. I was... But nobody knew.
Yeah.
And it literally wasn't until E.T. came to Bermuda, 2011, to speak to the educators. And I said, bump the speech. I got to talk to the man afterwards.
Man, come on, bro.
Yeah. And this was heavy CJ. This was big CJ. You know what I'm saying? This was 47-year-old CJ. He was like bodyguard, my man. He was like, he got signed these books. It was his first book was out. And I just waited. I waited everybody because I have to have a conversation. I don't want no picture. Yeah. I don't want no autograph. I had a conversation.
Yeah, man.
And he offered the prayer line to me. And that was the first time me hearing a man say, yeah, man, because, E is E at the time, right?
Yeah.
So E is going on a speaking, he's speaking, he's gone for 5 days. Yeah. And he said, yeah, I'm going for 5 days, but I got to make sure I iron my wife's work clothes for 6 days because I got to have it for a day that I come back, so that she don't have to do extra work. And I'm...
Game, he just dropped bars on you.
You know what I'm saying?
Mind blown.
Yeah.
Like, what?
Just schooled you right quick.
And I was just like... Because in my mind, if I'm the super overcoming golden child of my family, college degree, professional athlete, married with children, I should be treated a certain way. You know what I'm saying? In my mind, he was like, no, you should be serving a certain way. And it
was whoa. Say what? What'd he say?
He said you should be serving a certain way.
Man, stop, man.
And when he said, no, you get to this position because it's an honor for you to now give back.
Of course.
Starting with your home. And so he also gave another story. He was like, he was homeboy came in his house unannounced. His homeboy sees him as E.
Yep.
And his wife, Didi's kind of stern sometimes. Or she hit him with, hey man, blah blah blah, this ain't done. So he grabs the mop and he start mopping. He's like, my bad, babe. Start mopping. And then she goes upstairs and get ready, right? So his boy like waits and she goes up.
I already know.
He's bravado, right?
Here he come.
I was like, bruh, you cookie whooped. And he was like, you didn't know?
You already know.
Yeah, you just found that out.
I kept it a secret. You know what I'm saying? And for him to come on a platform to be him and to say that amongst men, it's like, bro, you realize that your mental paradigm is so different. Off.
Yeah.
And you are so immediately humbled because you realize I gotta have a whole bunch of more conversations because all of this is foreign to me, what you're saying.
Yeah.
None of this was presented to me, none of this was portrayed for me, and I actually gotta go back to playing ground zero. You know what I'm saying?
And this is why Boy Man King podcast and other podcasts are very important because we can deconstruct these misconceptions we have about serving our queens. Now, I've been married. I'm not married any longer, but I definitely can relate to what you're saying, man. It's okay. That's your wife. That's your queen.
It ain't tricking if she wifey.
You know what I'm saying? like, come on. Man need to know. People need to know that it's okay. It's all right. That's your position to be humble to your queen. That's just what it is.
Bruh.
That's just what it is.
And when you like an alpha personality like me and prideful, it is a struggle though.
Yeah.
Like I can't lie to say to you, I get it, but I'm fleshly. So like I get it mentally and I agree spiritually, but I'm a cocky, arrogant, prideful dude. Personally, like just that's how I had to survive my circumstance, survive my situation. I had to become that. So like the challenge of it, and I want you to talk about that challenge of knowing what you're supposed to do spiritually, knowing what you conceptually have understand an idea to be, but the reality of you constantly and consistently executing it in a way that you believe.
Yeah.
Man, you talking about real all the way open, real transparent. Like this is real man talk.
Real
you know what
talk,
I'm saying?
For sure.
Because like I said, especially for me growing up the way that I had, and we ain't even getting into the bulk of what's going on. We just scratched the surface just a little bit with the fingernail scratch. But, knowing that I was raised with this consciousness, raised knowing that, okay, God has put something great inside of me, knowing that, okay, I can't be athletic, right? I know it's not in the cards for me to be a boxer, right? But I did get nice with them hands after a little training. Let that be known. Don't run over here thinking. Yeah, don't run over here thinking that it's sweet because it ain't. I am a military veteran during active wartime, so like don't get it twisted. Like them boys showed me something in that game too. Anyway, check it out. Like knowing that God made me this person, like even trying to be affiliated in the gang, and then I revisited that moment even in high school and started doing some stuff, became a drug dealer and all this kind of stuff, right? Excuse me, knowing that on the inside that I was different, knowing on the inside that I had a purpose, right? Knowing that on the inside I was supposed to be doing something. It's like this, right? Me growing up wanting to be a rapper ever since I heard Tupac, and he was telling these young people, and me at the time I was a kid, he was like, look, man, you can be an accountant instead of a drug dealer. He like, man, you messing around out here and be pimping, you can be an attorney. You see Johnny Cochran out here, and I'm like, whoa, my man said I could be something else.
For sure.
So I started trying to do that, but I realized I couldn't be everything I was trying to be because I was supposed to be doing something different. But being a man with pride, like we always try to hide. We try to hide our weaknesses. Even today, I still be trying to hide stuff. That's how you ended up hitting me up last year and caught me in my bad spot. You and Jeremy like, yo, what's up with you? You know what I mean? Now pull up. You need to come see me face to face. And it's difficult being a man, right? Whether you're a young man, middle-aged man, or old man, when you know you have to do something, that thing is not going to leave you alone until you do it. But like you said, when you got pride, you can understand it. Spiritually, you can accept it, right? But there's something that has to be done in the physical aspect. You know what I mean? Like you were telling us on a call Thursday, like you got to put the work in. Like you can't substitute the work.
Get your reps
and that's the thing. It's hard to put the work in, especially when you don't know how. And when you don't know how and you do it wrong because it's what? You're being stretched. It's uncomfortable and it's inconvenient, right? Words sound familiar? Yeah. It's uncomfortable and it's inconvenient. So because of that, we as men, because we like to be able to solve problems and fix stuff, when we can't solve it or fix it the first time, we're afraid of it. We back up off of it because it challenges our manhood. And we don't want to do that real hard thing. We'll go out here and say, oh yeah, I'm hard. Yeah, I'm real. But we do the easy things. Like case in point, me wanting to be a speaker, accomplish my purpose, right? I can say it all day long, but if I don't do the work, it's not gonna happen.
Not gonna happen.
It's not gonna happen.
Yeah. So and
nuggets, man, nuggets,
bro. So let's get to this part, man. That I think for all of us, and you mentioned to it, I want to hear your feedback as well. About, you know, that lady, you know what I'm saying? And I didn't know, I don't know where this got dropped in translation, but I didn't know you was previously married. And I want you guys to speak to that because all the identities as a man, now you are a man, and the whole identity being caught up in the woman. And I want you to kind of allude to, you know, the first round. And now you really, you know, in your bag and doing what you're doing with your wife. Now your wife is amazing. Shout out to your wife.
Absolutely.
And that whole aspect of manhood when it comes to, you know, your partner. Man,
first of all, you know, growing up in church and coming from a broken family, like I wanted everything I didn't have. That may be why, you know, the marriage was forced or something like that, you know what I mean, or rushed into, because you want to create something. You want to create the stability.
How old were you in your first marriage?
20.
Okay.
Yeah, 20. Didn't last long, but anyway, moving on. But the thing is, I was still hurt, and we know hurt people. So I didn't realize that I was still insecure. Yeah, I hadn't been in the military. Yeah, I've been trained. Yeah, I hadn't done a lot of great things. Yeah, I was, you know, identifying my musical gift, and I can rap, I can get on the stage, and, you know, people like this new identity, but I was still hiding who I really was. And trying to do that, you know, your wife is going to be the one that challenges you the most because she's the one that knows the real you. So it's all good when I'm the man out here. You understand what I'm saying? But
I'm
when
the
you
man,
get home,
I'm the man.
You know what I'm saying? But then you get home and it's like,
okay.
And then when you're being challenged, right? And again, we always want to be hard. We always want to be this and we want to be that. But then we realize that the hard thing is self-control. The hard thing is instead of making excuses, making what? Adjustments, right? The hard thing is doing the thing that everybody else is not doing, right? So in my first marriage, I wasn't hard enough. You understand what I'm saying?
And I don't want to act like I do. When you say you wasn't hard enough.
I'm going to break it down. That means that the hard work, we don't want to do the hard work because it's too hard. I don't want to have to get to know this person like for real. Like I already know this person. Like I don't want to have to study her, like what she like, what she does, like what makes her upset, like which buttons not to press. I don't want to study her like that. I don't want to get on my hands and knees like E.T. be talking about mopping the floor so it can be a certain way. I don't want to iron her clothes for 6 days of the week because I'm the man. I'm going out here working. I need to come home and the food be done, like stuff like that. That's what I mean. Like we ain't hard enough. We go out here, we go to work, we come home, we sit on the sofa and we watch TV until we fall asleep and then we get up and do the same thing again. Those are the things, right? We're not putting in that work. We're not working to build our marriage like we was working to get that paycheck at the end of those weeks. We're not working to build our queens, right? We're not working to show our daughters how a woman's supposed to be treated. We're not working to show our sons how a man is supposed to be self-controlled, how he's supposed to be calm. I couldn't do any of that. So as soon as my wife said something I didn't like, I'm snapping, I'm going off, I'm going in. You're going to feel what I'm saying. Right. You understand what I'm saying? Yeah. And the first marriage, like this wife that I had, my oldest kid's mother, she was different. Like, she wasn't the type that just talked. Like, I remember trying to walk away, Shorty kicking her shoes out. She kicking, and I'm from Atlanta, so I said Shorty properly for you guys, but we say Shouty down here. Yeah. So Shouty kicking the shoes off, running up on me like, this ain't what you want. Like, what do you do when you confronted with this type of altercation in your house when you grew up, right? And you saw your father doing these type of things. You hate your father for these things. And hate is a strong word, but in my mind then, I hate this guy. But what do you do when you confronted with some of the same stuff he was confronted with, and you found out you ain't half the man you thought you was because you wasn't strong enough to take that. You wasn't strong enough to turn the other cheek. You wasn't strong enough to walk away, and you ended up becoming that same person who you hated. Yeah, I said it. It's right here. It's on wax. You understand what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, I manifested that same behavior that I talked about in the beginning of this interview, and it cost me my family. Mm-hmm. It cost me a wife. It cost me the relationship, the presence of my children. It cost me a home. I was homeless because of this. I was humiliated because of this, embarrassed because of this. I've been arrested because of this. How I end up being arrested, all the stuff that I've done that I ain't finna talk about on wax, how I end up going to jail for the same thing that my dad went to jail for. The same day I went to jail for it, I had just told somebody I'm the only male in my family that ain't been to jail.
My goodness. My goodness.
And 3 hours later, my sons are seeing me get handcuffed.
Wow.
Because I wasn't man enough. I wasn't hard enough. Now you understand where I'm coming from when I say I wasn't hard enough? You know what I mean? She made me mad and I reacted instead of responding. You understand what I'm saying? And me not knowing that being the leader of the household, the energy, I was the one to control it. So if I'm up here, you up here. You understand? But me, it's like, oh, the softer or the more passive I get, in my mind, I'm thinking, you chumping me off. You taking advantage of me. You understand what I'm saying? So I made these mistakes, and I want these next boys that's going to men, transitioning to kings, I need them to know, like, listen, don't turn around and make the same mistakes that we've made year after year after year because you chose to be stupid. Ignorance and stupidity is different. Ignorance is not knowing. You can always learn, but stupid is when you get the information, you acknowledge the information is fact, and you still ignore the information. You understand what I'm saying? I ain't know what was going on in my life. I'm in the church, and I ended up being suicidal because of this. Didn't mean to go into all of this, but since we at it, let's go on and deal with it because this is what happened to the foundation of my family that broke, right? I'm in the church trying to please God. I'm trying to do everything this book say in this Bible. I'm in youth ministry. I've been armor bearer, and I've been all of these type of things. And it's like, why is it like Paul said, the very thing that I hate, why is it that I do? And the thing that I want to do, I don't do. Why is this thorn in my flesh? God, if I'm supposed to be a man of God, why I'm having these problems with my wife? Why my wife don't respect me? Why all of this situation? Why am I end up in the same situation my father is? And I'm not this man. How you gonna say I'm not this person, but you looking at yourself in the mirror? I'm not that guy, but you doing those things. You personifying those behaviors. And it drove me to a point where, Chris, I'm like, I can't live like this, so I don't want to live. I drove to a parking lot. True story. 2, 3 in the morning. Drove to an empty Kroger parking lot. 9 mil, locked and loaded, ready to go. I ain't had no money, so it was a high point. Y'all know this is low budget 9 mils. You know what I mean? That's all I can afford.
Right.
Locked and loaded, right? Pistol to the head. I'm done. I can't do this. I can't know all I know about God. I can't know or watch my mama go through what she went through. I can't feel the pain that I feel and then turn around and do this to the mother of my children. Now, don't get it twisted. Like, I ain't no Ike Tina, no Ike and Tina, no crap like that. Let's not get it twisted or nothing like that. But it still wasn't the foundation that I know was supposed to be set for a godly household. So I'm in the parking lot. I'm ready to commit suicide. But for some reason, you hate when you in a spot and you trying to duck off and then somebody come park right beside you. But this person, they pull right in front of me with their headlights on. Man, I don't want nobody to see me do what I'm finna do. And I'm trying to do it while I got the courage to do it.
Right.
This car leave, another car pull up. All right, let me get it in. Boom, I ain't got the courage. All right, let me smoke this blunt a little bit more. Let me get, you know what I'm saying? Let me do whatever I need to do, get this courage up so I can get out of here. You understand what I'm saying? Because I don't want to live like this. Another car pull up. Then finally, I just lost the courage because this last car, they just stayed there. And I'm like, yo, I just drove back to the house. And then I realized something got to change. I can't be like this. So I made the conscious decision like, yo, look, we can't. I've been trying to go to counseling. I can't do it by myself. I'm getting counseling. You ain't. You know what I mean? Everybody, I'm telling people, look, I'm going to preachers like, look, I got a problem. Everybody is showing me I'm wrong. Nobody is holding the other person accountable, right? Nobody is doing this. I'm this, I'm that. I'm seeking help. I'm doing everything I'm supposed to be doing, or so I thought, right? And then I finally made the conscious decision, you know what? For the sake of this family, so that my kids don't become this, I got to part ways. It's not a lot. It's not that I don't love you. It's just that I love my kids more and I love you more than to keep you in a situation that I know we ain't going nowhere. Right. And that was the failure of it. And that's the hardest part I had to deal with because I became homeless after that. I ended up in court. I think we had gone to court like 8 times. You understand what I'm saying? It took me a long time to finalize the divorce. All of these things, were problems that I became because of my upbringing. So we need to know, like, guys, we need to get these young kings together. We need to let them know, like, you need counseling when you witness this trauma. Like, I'm out here representing, I'm gospel rapping. You know what I mean? I'm King Genesis. The acronym means God's youth need education, so I speak, but I'm out here wilding. Come on, y'all. y'all. That was the fail part.
Right. Yeah.
Didn't even mean to go in that. Didn't even mean to.
There's a drop the mic. That's a drop the mic movement, man. I definitely, that resonates with me a lot, man. Similar situation. I spoke about it openly on the line. Yeah. How God has to bring you to your knees sometimes to get you to seek His face, man. I have my own experience with domestic. Almost luckily I didn't get thrown in jail. Yeah. Had a situation with my ex-wife that, again, the bravado showed up. Yep. I'm not, instead of making a decision to do better, the bravado showed up, man. So I can relate to that a lot. These young men, they need to hear these stories, man. That's why this is very, very important, man, because becoming a king comes with bumps and bruises. It comes with challenges. And at the center of all this stuff, man, we know that we could take it all to God, and He could. That's right. He could make it right for us, man. And that's an amazing feeling to know that my struggles, I could just cast them onto God. Come on, you know what I'm saying, man.
Yeah, and so now you're here. Yeah. Now you're here. Yeah. You're DeMont Pope. King Speaks. You're with your wife. You're with your beautiful family. Tell us about who you are now and where you want to take what you're doing now.
All right, so now I'm a husband, successful this time. Yeah. But the healing had to take place first. Yeah. I had to get myself right, and then I wasn't even looking. You know what I mean? But God's like, I got something for you, son. All that time you thought I was abandoning you, I got something for you. Yeah. So He blessed me, right, with a queen that had really always been there. Like me and my wife, I used to walk her, like them 8 schools I went to between elementary and middle school. Like she was at the 8th school, right? Like I met her in 6th grade. Me and my brother used to walk her and her friend home from school. Like, what we look? We walking somebody home from school. I couldn't fight, remember? Right. What I'm gonna do? You understand what I'm saying? But 20 years later, we both grew apart or whatever, but then she ended up, becoming my personal assistant at the recording studio that I earned and did a lot of work for me, and the relationship just built from there. Mm-hmm. And now here I am, successfully married, right, after thinking that I wasn't going to do it anymore, after just wanting to abandon it and want to give up, but it's something about purpose over pointless excuses. I couldn't use my failure as excuses, right? Sure. I couldn't use what I didn't know as a reason not to do it and not to execute. What E.T. say, execution is worship. You understand what I'm saying? So I had to execute, and now because I put the work in for myself, I got a beautiful wife. Wife loves me unconditionally, supports me 100%, accountability partner, she be on me. We got 5 beautiful kids in our blended family, you know what I'm saying? And right now, as a youth motivational speaker, I have the opportunity to fulfill what I felt like my purpose has been all my life, which is make a difference in the world, guys. Okay. I've always, since I was a little bitty kid, struggling, poor, insecure, timid, passive, whatever you want to call it, I just always wanted to make a difference in this world. I always wanted to do something that would be significant, whether I made money for it or not. And I found that in pursuing this purpose, because every time I open my mouth, when I talk to a middle school kid, I'm thinking about my middle school age son and daughter. When I talk to an elementary school kid, I'm always thinking about my elementary school son. And even when my elementary school son graduates high school, I still got 2 more that's going to be in middle school. So I'm always going to be, at least for the next 16, 17 years, focusing on these young people, right? Sure, I was, God bless me with the tutelage and the mentorship of Jeremy Anderson and Coach Crump here in the Next Level Speakers Academy. And for years, I've been trying to write a book, guys. Started like in 2016. I pick it up, put it down, forget it. I ain't trying to write no book. I write songs, what I'm doing. But now I've successfully completed my first book, of course, titled Purpose Over Pointless Excuses. And I'm excited about that because that's going to be available here real soon. So through all the pain, through all the rain, through all the hurt, like I'm here, and all of the hurt, all the pain, all the shame, all the struggles that we just got through talking about, all this embarrassing stuff, these problems that people try to run from. If it wasn't for these problems, I wouldn't even be seated at this table because I wouldn't have anything to talk about.
Hey, and I don't know a better way to transition, but I just want to thank you, bro, on behalf, this was an incredible episode, man. Yeah, man. And you created so much value. And it connects to so many audiences, man. There's so many people on so many levels, young and old. Yeah. And so, man, this is what the Boy Man King podcast is about. It's about helping us understand that our failures and our challenges is not on what God is doing to us, but it's what He's doing through us. Yeah. And man, what you shared, man, what you guys shared today, man, I'm reflecting in a moment of how I can grow, how I can become better. And I pray, man, I truly do pray that you guys get something from this, that you learn from this, that you grow from this, and more coming soon, man. This is the Boy Man King podcast where the journey continues. Man. We'll see you guys in the next one, man.
Time, man.
Appreciate you, bro.
Man.
Thank y'all so much, fellas. Thank y'all.